I'm gonna be straight honest. Out of the gate here, Rise of Skywalker was shit. Surprise! I know. That might be pushing it because it really wasn't all that bad. If I was to review it, I would say that it's a movie that if it's on TV, I'll watch it, but I won't go purposely out of my way just to look at it. I mean, it doesn't even have any plot, if you know what I mean. But here's the thing, I don't think it's bad because of the usual things. The plot was essentially a 3-episode Clone Wars arc, which isn't necessarily bad since that's usually how Star Wars is meant to be portrayed, and the characters aren't actually that bad. Okay, they're decent at best, but no, I really want to get down to the real problem that I think doomed this movie. Now, you might be saying, hey, this is Spoopy Month, and we're only allowed to upload spoopy content. But, you know what? I believe that if Rise of Skywalker had done this one simple thing they kept hinting at the entire time throughout the movie, it would have actually rivaled Revenge of the Sith in terms of movie quality.
Yeah, now you're scared.
But before we can get to this, we really need to discuss why the new trilogy failed. That's also quite simple if you boil it down to basically the main arguments, and it's because it failed to innovate from the original Star Wars. Like, literally, it gets really specific. Character stuck on a desert planet desperately wants to escape. They escaped and are dragged into a mission where they meet 2 smugglers in the process. After a little bit of hijinks, all of a sudden they encounter a galactic empire that does Imperial things. And, oh, what'd you like at that? The Imperial things are actually, kind of bad. Oh, also they have a giant space laser, and they're going to use it for, can you guess? Bad things. So, characters join a small rebel group, and against all odds, manage to win. And would you look at that, the galaxy's safe. Except it's not, because the big empire is actually, well, big. And they have the might to keep the rebels on the run. Meanwhile, the rebels are on the run. The main character gets trained by a former Jedi Master, but the Jedi Master doesn't want to train them until they realize the main character is the only hope for the galaxy, sort of. But then the main character breaks from their training to face down the bad guys and save their friends. Now, they do divert a bit from here, and yes, Rise of Skywalker does make some mistakes, such as killing the perceived big bad guy only to reveal that they never hinted before and lazily written in there is an even bigger bad guy. Like, bad guyception. Having a Mary Sue that can't do anything wrong and is always strong enough to beat the bad guys even against all odds without the slightest hint of doubt in the audience. Literally, in the theater, I was falling asleep at the big battle at the end just because I could immediately tell that Rey was going to use magical light power to rival Palpatine and kill him without the slightest hint of hesitation. And also, if you're gonna hit me with a, hey, spoilers, you've literally had for fucking ever in quarantine to watch this shit, so stop. Yeah, now that I'm saying this out loud, it actually is a pretty terrible movie. Like, at least Return of the Jedi had the decency to have Luke in a situation that he would have certainly died in if it wasn't for one of the best scenes in cinematic history, where Vader turns to the light side and revolts against his master. Like, at this point, why didn't they have Kylo just do the same shit? It pretty much is already a copy and paste, and it would have looked way better compared to what we got. But no, I guess not. That's just too hard, apparently. But that's not why we're here. We're here because all of these faults could have actually been rectified if Rise of Skywalker had simply just made Rey and Kylo switch places. I know. What a concept. Actually surprised I haven't seen this idea in circulation because that's what I thought the movie was hinting at the entire time. It adopted so much of the original trilogy that it even took some of the big faults with it, such as when Vader said, "You cannot resist the power of the dark side." Most people are like, okay, but why? And then a few hours later, he goes on to straight up resist the power of the dark side. That's just never really hinted on until Extended Universe came in. Like, the original trilogy pointed at Luke, saying there is going to be a big scene, like a coin flip, where you'll have to choose to be with the light or the dark. But the audience is never really convinced that Luke will ever turn, and frankly, neither was he. And, I mean, I can't really fault that, since that's fucking hard to write. But Rise of Skywalker actually did set all of the pieces that this could have worked. Throughout the movie, we're shown Rey's conflict with who she really is and her path to the dark side, and Kylo revolting against the dark and going with the light. Now, if you were a good writer, you would know that since you're hinting at it so much, this is the path you're trying to take with the story. But if you belong to Disney, you know that you can't touch their precious Mary Sue, since she wouldn't sell so much merch. So you only commit to half of your original plan and hope that you still get to keep your job after it's done. And that's why this movie is actually dog shit, because of the mess that they had to contend with, and when a good idea actually gets passed along, it just gets shot down because this is about making money rather than trying to sell a story. Unless you're Dave Filoni, then you actually care about the shit you're doing. I mean, keep it up, man. If it were my choice, I would leave Star Wars in your hands, since you've created the best shit this series ever had. I mean, fucking space Vietnam. But picture this. During the big scene where Kylo relinquishes his lightsaber and joins the light and goes off to join the Resistance, where Leia is dead and she leaves him her lightsaber that they hinted at earlier, instead of giving it to Rey in case Kylo gave up his ways and returned to the light. And then Kylo goes to Exegol and faces down Rey, who has embraced her inner Palpatine and joined the dark side. And the final battle is a duel between both of them that we have so desperately craved since the first movie, but this time with the fate of the entire galaxy resting upon the victor. Also, Rey has a lightsaber she saw from her vision, because why the fuck are you gonna hint at something and just never bring it up again? I mean, I think audiences would be in a fit from that. There would be so much conflict from people that liked Rey and now see her as evil, and hated Kylo and now see him as good. I mean, I'm fairly sure that this would actually put audiences in a split between who should win, like the whole Snape good or bad, or Team Edward and Team Jacob. Side note, I actually remember eating one of those Team Edward candies. Some of the worst shit I ever tasted in my fucking life. I learned that day that if a movie endorses a candy, to just leave that shit alone. Unless you're Reese's Pieces, because imagine how cool it would be to smoke a bowl with fucking E.T. and gobble that shit up. So yeah, that's why I think Rise of Skywalker failed, but if you disagree, leave a comment for me to ignore. Probably.